Hello friends, welcome back to the Itsy Guitar YouTube channel. Got another beautiful vintage Fender in today. This is, according to the owner, a 1966 Fender Super Reverb. And I guess it's in mostly for a checkup. He did describe some problems with the trem not working and then just the reverb acting weird. So we'll have to play around with that, see what is what. He picked this up recently at a guitar show locally here in Southern California. Just a lovely example of a blackface. It is missing the side tilt back legs. No huge loss there. Lovely kind of honeyed grill cloth on these. Does have replaced speakers as well. You can see that. And then it does have also the tube chart, though you can't see it from this angle. And yeah, let's go ahead and put it on the workbench and see what's what. Okay, let's see what we're working with. First glance, this thing is pretty rusted. So, yeah, wow. Not much surface dust, just kind of baked in at this point. Visually, obviously, very, very dirty. Also worth noting, we are missing all of the preamp tube tube shields here. So one thing for the owner, that's probably going to help reduce some noise and picking up things like your cell phone and whatnot. So I would definitely recommend purchasing some of those for this. So take this guy out and let's check our transformer codes. You guys might be able to tell what it says from the camera's angle. From my angle, I see 606, and I cannot make out what is coming after that. But it looks original, and that's not a big deal if that's not original. So we can go ahead and move on past that one. This one will be on the side here, 606619, so the 19th week of 1966. So that would be original. And then the next one here looks like 606640 is what I'm just barely making out there. So that's all looking good. And then this, first glance, looks like a replacement. So these would have it stamped into the bell cover 606 and so on and so forth. EIA is also something that didn't come until later. I've never seen one with a sticker like this before, though. Even the later 70s and whatnot, Schumacher transformers will have it stamped into the metal just like you saw in the other ones. So this definitely appears to be a replacement to me from the top side. The other side will confirm that for us in a second. And then real quick, complement of tubes. Got a mismatched set of TAD power tubes, 5AR4 rectifier, and then a bunch of groove tubes for everything else. All right, let's get positioned to flip over. Actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and take off the dog cover and see what's lurking underneath. Okay, not bad at all. F&T caps. Okay, looks all right. We can see another day code here, 66, 44th week of 66. Looks like no silicone under them, just to put these two together. Looks like there's a little bit of shrink wrap here. That's very bizarre because it doesn't seem like there's any J-hook or cut or anything there. So don't know what the story is on that. But overall, pretty good. So that's encouraging. Let's go ahead and flip it. Well, actually, let's put this back and flip it over. And here you go. A lot to take in. Barely fits in the frame for the camera. Immediately, you can see the kind of rust and nastiness on the outside is also present on the inside, particularly over here with the normal channel. It looks to me pretty clearly like it a spillage through the input jacks here, and so that just kind of got all this really gross and nasty. And that flowed its way down here, and then you can see some more spillage over here off of these input jacks. Kind of a similar case. There's a lot to take in here. A lot has been touched and worked on. Quite a lot. So high level, really quick, just based off of what I see first glance. All of the pots appear original. The jacks, the inputs, those all look original to me. You've got almost all of the blue moldeds. We're just missing two, which is a bit unfortunate. So let me check the values on these. They both say 0.018, so not the right value for what those should be. So we'll have to see what the owner wants to do on that. Moving on, we can see the treble caps are original. Lots of resistor swaps. In fact, I am looking for any original resistors, and I think I only see two, which will be these two guys right here. These, even those look like they might be replaced. All the carbon comps are clearly modern style carbon comps, not Allen Bradley's. Every single one has been replaced. Yep, every single one's been replaced, and then the ones that aren't Allen Bradley or aren't carbon comps, excuse me, are these carbon film. It does appear all the electrolytics have been replaced in the amps. You've got Sprague caps for all of these, which is good. The installs look totally fine to me on those, and then you've got a different brand here, 4.7 microfarad cap, pretty common for people to do 5 microfarad there. This looks like it was a Trem Tick Fix mod right there. Another cap right here replaced. Nichicon, that's good. So yeah, this thing has been pretty much completely gone through and redone one way or another. We've got a couple little mods, it looks like. We got a couple grounds here. This would have originally had grounds connecting to the chassis bolts. And you can see that those two were disconnected, and then they did it to the chassis itself, which is good. Those look okay to me. Now, the transformer is definitely replaced. You can see it took a pretty big hit right here as well. I'm not sure if you can see that. You can see that big dent. And we'll have to see if the voltages coming off of it are correct or not for this amplifier. Yeah, so, okay, it's a bit of a mixed bag, if I'm being honest. It looks pretty good at first glance, but tons and tons of stuff has been touched in it, which always makes me a little nervous because, you know, I don't know why you would shotgun an amp like this. I mean, basically everything has been replaced other than, you know, a couple of the key caps, which is good. That's good that those are still here, but why you would replace every single resistor unless it's just one of those, you know, oh, they all measured just out of 10% tolerance, so they have to go. Well, that's a bit unfortunate if that's the case, but it doesn't mean this amp won't sound very good. And in fact, with some of the swaps, it could be healthier than, you know, an all original counterpart. So yeah, glass half full. Maybe the bones are really, really good in this thing, but I do think it's going to take a bit more work to diagnose since everything has been touched already. Before we get too far down the line, I want to just go ahead and turn it on real quick. I'm plugged into the cab just off screen here, and then we're also running into my workbench spring tank just to see that. Looking at a bit closer, you know, we noticed there's some mods on the reverb here, for example. So this bluish wire should be going all the way over here to this 220K, and instead it's going here, which is where the reverb is. So I'm wondering if this was done to get reverb on the normal channel. So I want to go ahead and test that real quick, see what's going on there, and then also just see if the tremolo is not working at all, and if we're getting any flicker of light with the roach here. So with that, go ahead and turn it on and see what's what. We'll start with the signal generator running into the normal channel here, just to test if the reverb is in fact being injected into the normal channel. I have the volume quite low here. All right, lots of noise. And that is correct, confirmed. So they are injecting reverb into the normal channel. All right, you won't be able to hear that. But I can confirm that for you guys. So that is, in fact, the mod that was done. Now let's go ahead and check the trem here. So the reverb does not work correctly on the vibrato channel here. Huge noise increase when I turn the signal generator off. I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear this. All right, not sure what's going on there. Okay, so the pot at 0 wants to stay on, so it's buggy. I don't know if the pot's bad, it needs to be clean, if it's part of the mod that was done here. I'm not sure if you guys will pick that up at all, but the reverb does work on this channel. It's just jacked up. So that's good to know. Let's go ahead and check the trem. So the trem does work, but doesn't sound particularly healthy. Okay, so we were able to at least confirm the owner's primary complaints. Now I've gone ahead and checked through the entire amp and just notated everything that was changed, everything that was done incorrectly, what we definitely need to tackle, and what are some options. So let me run through that with you real quick. So I'll just quickly run through it. So it's got artificial center tap up here. That's okay. This bias cap is only rated to 85 degrees. Looks like it's a poor quality cap, so we'll be replacing that as well. The power transformer has been replaced. Already noted that. I need to check the voltages to see if it's putting out the correct voltages, but it looks like it's probably going to be okay. We will confirm though. This tube socket over here has been replaced. I'm not sure if you can see from your guys' angle, but it's got the flanges for mounting it. Like this is supposed to be mounted, I guess you would say, from the outside connected to the chassis, whereas it's inside the chassis. So these flanges are completely wrong, and they riveted them in place haphazardly, basically forcing it to stay. So this tube socket needs to be replaced with the correct fitting one. I'm hoping that I'm able to get these rivets out and not damage anything in the process. That's really kind of hacked together. We already mentioned the 3-prong was wired incorrectly, so we'll have to do this mess. The grid stop resistors, the 1.5Ks, those measure quite high, so we'll be replacing both of those. Now, everything in blue here basically just denotes that it has been replaced. So you can see probably, let's say 90% of the board has been replaced, which is a bit shocking, to be honest. You know, I wasn't expecting that, and based off the quick photo I saw from the owner before he dropped it off, I didn't even realize just how much has been replaced. Every resistor in this amplifier, except for basically this one and a couple on the pots, and the jacks basically have been already replaced. So, you know, on one hand, I guess silver linings, you know, maybe they got rid of a lot of problems in the process, but the amp is still quite noisy. It's got some pops and crackles to it. It's got some background noise. So even though they did all that, it's really not in a great state. And actually, it makes my life a lot harder trying to figure out what's going on with all of the different resistors that are different types. In addition, a lot of the resistors are not the correct value per the schematic. So for example, this 22K right here, this is what part of the long tail pair phase inverter here. This actually is a 10K instead of a 22K, so that's incorrect. In addition, there should be a wire right here running, and it's actually this blue wire. So running all the way here, this is the normal channel, and it brings the normal channel over to the phase inverter. Instead, what it's doing is it's sending the normal channel here through this 3.3K, and then this is where the reverb is taking place in the circuit. So as I just showed, reverb on the normal channel, and it's just not a great implementation. I don't think it's a great mod in the first place. If you want reverb, use this channel. So we will be fixing that for sure. The roach does look like it's been replaced, but we did just prove it works, though it didn't sound super great or healthy. Could be down to the caps. We'll have to play with that. These 220Ks both read quite high, but this one in particular was 270K, which to me is enough to warrant changing it. Moving on, the trem tick fix. I need to confirm the voltage rating on that cap to make sure it's okay. It did seem like it still had a little bit of a tick there, but not too bad, I guess. So that's all right. Over here on the reverb, there's a 10K resistor. We're going to be removing that. This red wire should just be going to the eyelet directly. So that's out of there. And then moving down to this side over here, which is just kind of off camera for you guys, sorry, the light reflection. We already mentioned, I think that these caps we replace these coupling caps, these blue moldeds, and they're replaced with 0.018s when it should be a 0.047 and a 0.022, just like you see right here. So we'll be replacing both of those. And then this resistor, the slope resistor for the normal channel here should be 100K, and I think that about does it. This bright switch here was replaced on the bright channel. I believe it works. I didn't check it just now, but I'm pretty sure that works, but we will confirm. And then the bias resistor is a 15K. Pretty common to swap a 15K here. I'm sure it's fine, but we'll confirm it's biasing okay there. Now this is a mismatched set of tubes. They're both two different style TAD 6L6s. So probably not a bad idea to get a matched pair in there, but we'll see how close they are as is, and we'll clean all this mess up if it is the correct resistor value. And besides that, I think that's about it. The Doghouse looks okay. It's not great, but it's not terrible. I think we can go ahead and leave that. And then otherwise, just cleaning all the pots, cleaning the tube sockets, kind of your general maintenance stuff is what we're looking at. So we just got to go to the owner, see what he thinks. Oh, also, trying to clean up all of this. There's nothing we could do about the rust. We can just get some WD-40 on all of the exposed metal here just to kind of set it up for success long term, but really nothing you can do about that at this stage. So we'll go to the owner, talk to him, see what he wants to do, how far he wants to take it. I mean, we could go as far as, really getting carbon comps in every single position, just to kind of get it more vintage accurate and correct. Getting the right caps in the places where the caps have been replaced. Maybe even trying to source blue molded, so we want to get real crazy. So we can get really crazy with this, or we can kind of keep it pretty mellow. Power transformer, does he want to make this all original and try and find an original replacement? Well, I can help him find that if he wants it. My guess is probably not, but I guess he just needs to know that's an option. So anyways, we'll talk to the owner, and once I hear back from him, we'll get the parts ordered and the work underway. So while we're waiting for the owner to get back to me on what he'd like to do, I figure we can just do a quick baseline bias check. Now, as I noted earlier, these two 6L6s, though they're both branded TAD, are different design tubes, different made tubes. So they came from a different set originally. We don't know how matched they are. My guess, even if they're okay, is it's just going to be best to move forward with a matched set that have the same starting point, because we don't know, one could be much older than the other. Even if they kind of show okay, they could fail at different times. So probably going to want to move forward with that, but we're just running into the Variac. I like to bias around 121. Where I live, 120 is pretty consistent, but just to give a little bit of extra. And we'll flip it off standby here. We're getting about 473 for the plate voltage. Again, this is tube D, this is tube C. And then the current is 32 versus 31. So actually very, very closely matched. I still think it's a better idea to move forward with just swapping in a matched set, a matched pair, that have the same starting point. And I think it's just a better idea, more reliable that way. But I'm actually pretty impressed here. So if we check the bias, it's like 472. Let's go to the higher end, 472 for the plate to cathode voltage, and then plate current. The highest one was about 32. So that puts us right at 50%. So if we wanted to warm it up a little bit, we would just use this little trim pot right here. And we would want to increase the current here. So turning that way decreases the current, so we'd want to go the other direction. And you can see here that 70% would be 44.5. But obviously the plate to cathode voltage is changing while we're doing this. So really we want to go probably closer to about 35, if I had to guess. 38, what does that put us at? Right at 60%. So that's good to me. If we want to keep these tubes, that's where I would run it. And great, so now we can go ahead and put this away and wait for the owner. More quick little side testing here. I want to see where the bulk of the noise was coming from in the amplifier, just kind of the idle noise. And pulling V1 didn't make any difference, so not the normal channel. Pulling V2 didn't make a difference, so not the first preamp of either channel. And then this made no difference, and this is their reverb recovery, and that made the idle noise go away. So just something to note for future reference. Spoke to the owner, and he confirmed us to move forward with kind of a basic level repair, I would say. So we're not restoring this by any means, but we're fixing kind of the obvious wrongs to it, such as resistors that were installed that are the wrong value, and the tube socket being very, very poorly installed. We get a new tube socket in there, replace the grid stop resistors, which are way out of tolerance. This kind of cheap cap for the bias here. Little things like that. So we're just kind of sorting the circuit out a bit, if you will. And then as we go down the line, we'll see if anything else arises once we get that done. He did also approve ordering some new tubes, so we got those on the way. And while we're waiting for the parts to come in, I do have some on hand so we can get the work started. There are various signs of previous work. You can see it's got a little bit of melted insulation there from, I don't even know what you would have, I guess going here, soldering here, they must have done that. Not great, but it didn't go all the way through the insulation, so it's not really concerning. Just unfortunate. Let's go ahead and take this cap out. So the 47 microfarad. This is a Nichicon, but it's only 85 degrees, and then look on this side. Oh gosh, I don't know if you can see that. Let me focus it. So it's just torn up. Definitely worthy of a replacement. Again, 85 degrees. In its place, we'll be installing this 100 microfarad F&T. All the other filter caps in Doghouse are F&T, so I figured this would be a good one to swap in. That we can cross that off of the list. There's lots of bits of solder all over inside the amp from the previous tech as well. Just kind of everywhere. Don't love to see that, but we'll get it all out before the owner takes possession of the amp again. So now we've got the 220K and the 22K replaced there. So we can move on down here to this end. And I am going to just go through and add a little bit of solder to each joint as well, because some of them are a bit suspect. Every single joint in this amplifier has been touched on the board, it appears. So just for good measure, so to speak. But down here at this end, I'm not sure how well you guys can see it. We're going to be replacing this resistor, which is not correct, and then both of these caps. So let's pull those out and get this done. Well, here's something interesting I just noticed. I was going, well, wait a second. This is a 0.047. I thought this should be a 0.1. So I looked at the schematic again, and this should be a 0.1 microfarad cap, and 0.022 is correct. And then I looked at it closer, and I realized, oh, this is a 0.047 600 volt. So this used to be a death cap, maybe even the original death cap to this amplifier, and then somebody put it in here in this position. The 0.022 does look original to me. This solder joint has been untouched on this side. This one's very clearly been touched. I didn't really even take a close enough look at it to notice at first. So yeah, 0.047, that is incorrect. And we'll need to, I do have the Vichets here, 22 nanofarad for the 0.022. That'll work fine. I need to make sure I have a 0.1 because I had a 47 pulled. So basically a 0.1 is going to have more bass, more low end, and a 0.047 will have less. A very simple way to put it, but there you go. So let's go see if I got the right parts. Perfect. So that has been returned to stock, and I did hear back from the owner, and he wants to move forward with taking out the incorrect value and just returning everything back to the schematic. So no problem. We will pull this out. This is an old death cap just based off the 600 volt rating there. So I'll take this out, and if the owner wants to keep it with the amp, he certainly is more than welcome to. So with that, the board is basically done, apart from just cleaning some things up, touching a couple solder joints here and there, at least to start. And then we'll have to do some cleaning, and, you know, like I mentioned, WD-40. I'll be able to do the grid stop resistors while we're waiting for parts to come. But other than that, we kind of just got to wait for stuff. But made some good progress. Very happy so far. Was just going through and adding solder to the solder joints, and came across this. So the tech here, he just placed it on top and soldered on top. Instead of just giving it a little bit extra length and putting it in the eyelet itself, I'm going to replace this. That's just terrible. Terrible way to do that. I mean, there's no, I don't know what you don't save anything by doing that. There's only negative as far as I'm concerned. And then the solder used here, you can see is like a paste almost. Like it's barely flowing. So we're just going to rip that out and put a new one in. No big deal. Just another 100K resistor. Very common value. We'll do another one just like this here. Again. Come on. Look at this. Why would you leave this short? Gotta be honest, I just don't trust any of the work done in this thing. I mean, they left this with both of the leads tied together, which is fine, but you don't go all the way down because it makes it so thick that you're not gonna be able to fit it in here. So I don't think these are, I think these are all just tack soldered on top. I don't think they're even even in the eyelet at all. Teeny narrow little window now to fit this resistor in. If I can salvage it, which this is almost always a bad idea because it just ends up being way more work trying to salvage somebody else's job than just redoing it yourself. Which is a big reason why every tech I know vastly prefers working on an original amp versus trying to work within or around somebody else's work. The unfortunate thing is I would literally have to rebuild everything on this amp if we were to do that because every resistor has been swapped. I mean, we found a few, I'm sure those two I found aren't the only problems in this whole thing. And now I've got to work around that. So if I wanted to be, 1,000% confident in this amp, it would mean redoing everything basically. In which case it'd be rebuilding the entire amp, in which case it would have to be a fairly hefty bill just to cover the amount of time that would take. All right, did we gain any ground at all on this? A little bit. So when I do have shorter leads like this, what I'll do is I'll cross them. So I want to make sure it's always in the eyelet partially, which it is. You can see that. So then I'll cross the other lead over it. So now there's a mechanical connection holding in place. So now that resistor can't be lifted out. All right, I think that's good for now. We do have this resistor still here connected to the transformer. I just want to see what's what with it there, and then we'll remove it because I'm not really sure what that is doing. I'm going to go ahead and clean the pots. If you guys recall, the reverb was being a bit funky, and the pot is not loose. So, and the ground connection looks okay on it. So I'm not really sure. We'll have to test it. But first, let's just go ahead and clean all the pots. Next up, we'll replace the grid stop resistors, the 1.5Ks on the tube sockets. Those have drifted up, very, very common. So we'll go ahead and pull those out, put in some new ones, and I think that's about all we can do as we wait for parts. So now we can go ahead and move forward with fixing the 3-prong wiring. So the primary was over here directly to the switch, which is fine, but obviously it just barely reaches. So instead, we're going to be utilizing the ground switch, which is disconnected as a junction point. We'll run this right here. From there, we'll run to the other end of the switch, and then we're going to be swapping these two leads here so that the hot is going from the courtesy outlet to the fuse tip, and then the fuse sleeve is going to the switch. So let's go ahead and fire it up. We got the tubes back in and just make sure everything's okay. Let it warm up for a sec, and then I'm very curious to see if the reverb suddenly starts working since we demodded the amp and cleaned the pots. Maybe, maybe not. Let's find out. A little volume. All right, looks like we fixed the reverb pot behavior, which is good news. Let's make sure the normal channel's okay. That sounds good to me. Okay, perfect. So at this stage, we just need to wait for the new power tubes, new rectifier socket. We'll get that swapped over, confirm the bias of the new tubes, and we need to explore this little resistor on the reverb transformer, see what that's all about. But otherwise, it's looking pretty good. Let's check the trem real quick, actually. All right, so it is working. It does sound a little weak, but not bad. Definitely, I would say not as strong as it could be, and that could be down to this just being old and tired, which happens. They fail eventually, but not 100% gone. So, okay, cool. Feeling pretty good. Parts have arrived, so first thing we're going to do is check the bias with a brand new set of JJs. This is an Apex matched pair of 6L6 GCs. They're in the amp right now. First thing we'll do is just check the negative bias, see what it's doing. Negative 46, probably a decent range there. And then we'll go ahead and check with the Weber bias right probe and see what this gives us. So this tube is D, this tube is C. So we're getting 464 for plate voltage, current 39 and a half or so. And the other tube is 38, 39, similar. and 464. So that looks good. Let's go ahead and check that with the bias calculator just to confirm and see if the resistor there is correct to get this biased in range. So checking with the bias calculator here, 6L6GC, 464 for the plate voltage, which is, yep, 464.65. And then plate current is 39 on the hotter of the two tubes, thereabouts. That gives us 60%, which is exactly my target for this. So that's good to go. We don't have to mess with any of that, which is fantastic. So now we can continue on and do the rest of the things on the list, including replacing this tube socket. While I have the amp up, I went ahead and just checked the voltages coming out of the power transformer to make sure that the amp is running as it should, since we know that's a replacement, and it is literally right on the money. So zero concerns there. The HT here is the red wires there at 367, should be 360, but we're at higher wall voltage. It's no big deal. You know, the plates and the screens are both 460. 464 here, it should be 465, basically dead on the money. The only real biggest difference is the bias, which is just a small change to get it better biased with the current set of tubes and wall voltage. So this thing is perfect as far as all that's concerned, and looking very good. Unfortunately, the memory card ran out of space and I didn't even catch it, so I just kept on working. So just to get you guys up to speed, I'm not sure how much you saw, but I replaced the rectifier tube socket and a nice new one with the nice Belton bear claw as well. The old one was riveted on, had to drill it out, kind of a pain in the butt, but no big deal. And then also to get the trem to be fully 100%, I did end up replacing the roach here. And I also confirmed this is a 400 volt cap. This is for the trem tick. And this cap is kind of what I would consider the minimum rating for this position, because it can be in the high 300 volt range. I did check it. It's fine. It's max when you first turn it on. It's like 370 or something. So it's okay there. Now, the last really little bit I want to do is just see what's going on with this resistor off of the reverb transformer. I don't know why it's here. I don't know what it's doing. The reverb, I checked the amplifier in its cabinet with its reverb tank, and it sounded great. Everything seemed to be working really well. So just going to go ahead and remove this, solder it back in. We'll bypass this resistor and just see if there's any negative results from that. And if not, then we'll pull that out. So I don't really know what the point of that is. And yeah, other than that, just kind of, I'm probably just going to put a little WD-40 on all the rust in places, specifically on the underside of the chassis. And we'll call it good. Now, there's lots of little things we could do. It would just take a lot of time, and the owner just kind of wants to move forward with the minimum to get it up and running and be good to go. So, you know, there's lots of little stuff. I'll probably clean this up just because it really bothers me. But, you know, these are all okay, I guess. They're sturdy. They're fine. Just not super clean. Kind of pretty much all of the solder work in the amp that I haven't touched is basically in that category, I'd say. So, you know, you can get real crazy and redo every single thing, but it's diminishing returns and a lot of time, and as a result, some added money, which might not actually be worth it. So anyways, that's the plan. Let's go ahead and test this, confirm it's good to go, and get this back to the owner. All right, so with that 10K removed, the amp works perfectly fine. I guess it would be, I don't know, limiting the reverb a little bit. So, I mean, it sounded great to me. It sounded like a typical 60s Fender spring reverb. So yeah, I think we're good to go as far as all that's concerned. So last little remaining items, just the tiny little things, you know, we'll clean the tube sockets, we'll clean all of the pots of deoxide I mentioned, we'll hit WD-40, not spray WD-40, but I will apply WD-40 to some of the existing rusted areas. We'll try and clean out a little bit of some of the little bits of solder from the previous guy. Like over here, I can see a couple little blobs. Yeah, this thing is awesome, and I'm excited for the owner to check it out and enjoy it. So anyways, onward. With that, the only thing left to do is play it, demo it, make sure it works correctly. So we'll be running into the aux box just for convenience factor, and we'll be using my own test workbench spring tank just because I don't feel like pulling the original out of the bag. That's pretty pointless. So I've already confirmed it works okay in the cabinet. This is for you guys, and I guess for the owner as well. So let's go ahead and get it set up and grab a guitar.